Alrighty, hello and welcome to Day One Patch Podcast, episode 529, the real 529. I think last week I said it was 529. It was actually 528. Me and Matt had both made layout documents for the podcast.
That was a nightmare.
I made mine after you made yours, so I thought we were one episode ahead. So last week I might have started the episode saying it was 529, it's 528. It is now 529.
That's correct.
How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing all right, yeah.
Did you enjoy your milkshake from Dairy Queen?
I did. Been experimenting with things that are not at least normally associated with milkshakes for me. Like I've been having like cherry. I had coffee at one point, not at DQ. So DQ I had cherry. There's a local place here called Hewitt's. I had a coffee milkshake. I'm trying different milkshake flavors that I would not consider the quote unquote standard, which is like chocolate and vanilla.
So what was the current one? You just tried?
The one I had at Dairy Queen was cherry, and there were bits of cherry in it, which I enjoyed a lot.
Me and Marty had talked about like milkshakes, and I said I was going to try a chocolate one, which I've never tried. People might be surprised by that, but I've never tried a chocolate milkshake. But every time I go, it's just like, no, I want to enjoy something. It's like I came there for the vanilla, and so when I get there, it's like, oh, I should order chocolate, but it's like, no. I was already expecting vanilla. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I get that, but do you know how you get around that? This is what I used to do. I used to be sort of a picky eater in that. And how I got around that was I used to just order two, but just at a smaller size. And so if I usually get a medium, I'd get like two smalls.
Yeah, all right. I see.
Let me say this, though. We had that McDonald's cotton candy milkshake.
Yeah.
That actually, sincerely, was fucking rancid. I hated it. Like I am not really usually one to like leave food or whatever. Like I just sort of like finish what's there, especially if it's candy. It's like it's good enough usually. I took about 4 sips and legitimately hated it and threw it away.
Wow.
I was with you.
Wow.
Wait, you tried cotton candy, Ryan?
Oh,
you tried cotton candy milkshake?
Yeah, it wasn't good at all.
No.
My favorite ice cream flavor is cotton candy, and so I was pretty excited, and it didn't taste like that whatsoever.
It tasted like penicillin mixed with Pepto-Bismol.
Yeah.
That was
not
It was
good.
bad. It was very bad. Like I can't even believe how bad it was actually.
When they do these limited time things, do you think they're actually trying to see if they could add a new item or not? Or do you think it's literally just that having that limited time thing, like you, really gets you to come in and try something?
Yeah, so to give people context, like if it says limited time, I usually will buy it because I'm like, well, I can always have, a Big Mac later. But I can't have this like, spicy hot honey burger right now. Or rather, I can only have it right now. I don't know how long limited time means. And I don't go to McDonald's all that much.
Mm-hmm.
And I do that with everything. Chip flavors. I got freaking cases of pop upstairs that are just awful that I just bought. And it was just like, man, this sucks. So yeah, I got a bunch of stuff. But no, I would say, yes, they do limited time stuff to see if they should add it to the menu. But it depends on the context. Sometimes it's just like a straight up licensing deal. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes it's just like, oh, like, enter sports team here wants to support us. That, particular sports team, top like front runner really likes Doritos. So let's add Doritos to our poutine.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like there's nothing else. Like why is it, that Tim Hortons partnered with Justin Bieber for the Biebs brew, which was fucking delicious, by the way. I ordered Biebs brew all the time. Yeah, I always got Biebs brew when they had it, and also the Timbits too. The Bieber Timbit things. I don't know what they called those. Tim Biebs. That's it. Tim Biebs. And then there's the Ryan Reynolds limited time, which of course I bought it. Breakfast like scrambled eggs thing at Tim Hortons as well. But like, I don't think they're going to add like those to the menu, if that makes sense. Although someone told me, like one of the people, this is like, unofficial, I guess, but this was a Tim Hortons staffer told me that the Biebs brew, like I asked for Biebs brew, didn't know when it was over, and it was over, but they were like, oh, but Biebs brew is basically just this. And they told me like a flavor shot combo. So I was like, yeah, give me that. And it was like either it or pretty damn close.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's move on to video game fun facts. Matt, you got one prepared for us this week?
I do indeed. It's a special one, actually.
Special?
This is the 52nd one. This is one year of the video game fun facts.
God damn.
So 52 weeks, and also ties into the deck of 52, which I'll get into in a moment. So this gaming fun fact is about Mercenaries Playground of Destruction. So I'll give some backstory and then I'll kind of dive into the fun fact. So Mercenaries Playground of Destruction is one of my personally one of my favorite games. It's basically like a sandbox game, but it's super unique. So it's similar to GTA. You can steal cars and steal various vehicles and do missions for people, things like that. But it's not just like you run around and you're just like a mercenary. You run around as a mercenary in a war zone. So it's kind of a far cry from GTA where you're just in like a city or just in a couple of cities. And what's cool because you're in a war zone is it expands what you steal. So you steal tanks. There's anti-air tanks. There's your standard tanks. There's armored vehicles. There's troop carriers. All sorts of things. If you play the second game, there's planes you can take. It's awesome. And this game, and I'm talking about the first one, Playground Destruction, takes place in a fictional North Korea and South Korea conflict. So General Song has taken over North Korea after killing his father, Choi Kin, who attempted to disband the North Korean military and reunify Korea. Song has the power of nuclear weapons at his back, and so he has decided to cut off North Korea completely from the outside world. The Allied nations, otherwise known as AN, then create the Deck of 52, a list of key targets that, if neutralized, will help take General Song down. You play as an ex-ops mercenary, and you get to choose one of 3, and you are dropped into the war zone to take advantage of the bounties that are placed on each of the Deck of 52, with the big fish, of course, being a $100 million contract on General Song himself if taken alive. So there's a thing in this game where you can run over to the person that is the Deck of 52 person, so the bounty. You run over to the bounty, you knock them out, and you have to call in a helicopter and extract them. And if you don't, and you just kill them and take a confirmed kill, you actually only get half the money. So you only get 50 million if you kill General Song. Throughout this journey, you won't talk to, random, say like criminals or whatever. You know how like in GTA, it's like, talk to Jimmy, he's my guy. And then you do like 10 missions for Jimmy. Then Jimmy's like, talk to Bill, he's my guy. And then you do a bunch of missions for Bill. Yeah. You actually interact with various nations. And these various nations have their, or organizations, have their own goals in mind, of course, taking advantage of the fact that they're in a war zone. So these include the AN, which I already mentioned, the Allied nations, the Russian Mafia, China, China, South Korea, and then, of course, North Korea themselves. So it's pretty interesting, and you have to make certain decisions. You can actually piss off the various factions. North Korea, of course, is always hostile because they're sort of the reason why the conflict is happening, and you're going after General Song. And of course, everybody wants a piece of that money or the arms trade or whatever the heck else is going on in the region. So you would figure that a game that, this is a PS2 game that has like this much lore and this much sort of figuring out, like they've kind of sorted this game out quite well. You would think that this was planned right from the beginning, but that was not the case. And enter in the fun fact. So this game was developed by Pandemic, rest in peace. And they were actually developing the Army Men RTS game for 3DO. And they cut a deal to use the same engine that they were using for that RTS for Mercenaries, but it wasn't originally Mercenaries. So when the project began, EA had pitched a 3D upgrade to their 1992 hit title Desert Strike. Pandemic then started creating a faithful replica where you would control a helicopter, fight enemy installations, rescue hostages, among other objectives. The original Desert Strike was pseudo 3D, so it was easy for them to reimagine this as a 3D in this faithful recreation. And in fact, I found, and I believe this was uploaded like semi-recently, I found on YouTube a video that was labeled as Mercenaries Playground of Destruction pre-alpha footage - Desert Strike 2. And it was kind of like a pre-alpha trailer where it showed off some of the gameplay of people, driving around, flying the helicopter, doing these other things. And it looks, funny enough, it looks like Mercenaries, of course. And what's kind of interesting is it had all these like things where it's like in association with Jerry Bruckheimer and like all this other stuff. That kept like flashing all this text on the screen. But unfortunately, this Desert Strike 2 never came to fruition. But I guess fortunately for the game Mercenaries, because at some point in development, EA was no longer in control of the project, and it landed in the hands of LucasArts, who eventually published the title. And this is significant because LucasArts would eventually publish two of Pandemic's most successful games, which of course is Battlefront 1 and Battlefront 2. And then, of course, over time, LucasArts did publish what became not Desert Strike 2, but Mercenaries Playground of Destruction.
I was
And
just
that's
gonna
the
say
fun
that. Yeah,
fact.
yeah. It's weird that Lucasfilm Games or LucasArts, you know, well, I guess no, that makes more sense because Lucasfilm did more than just Star Wars.
Right.
It was just interesting that LucasArts did games outside of Star Wars, famously Monkey Island and stuff like that. And then yeah, Mercenaries. I remember seeing the LucasArts logo on that. So I just thought it was interesting that LucasArts was a broader, video game initiative than just let's make Star Wars games.
Well, they there was even some Star Wars Easter eggs in this game too. You could find a certain amount of collectibles, and you could play as Han Solo. I think there was another set of collectibles or some sort of other objective, and you could actually play as Indiana Jones. And there was some. This is from memory from when I was a kid, so this might be incorrect. But there was something where it was like there's like weapons of mass destruction schematics or something that's mentioned, and it ends up like if you look at it, it's like actually like plans for the Death Star, stuff like
Oh,
that. Like it's
that's
just
cool.
little things like that.
Yeah. Man, come to think of it, there's not a lot of games today that are like Mercenaries or anything like that. I think maybe, I guess, Just Cause, but that's not. Is there a new one coming out or? But there's just not a lot of sandbox games anymore. It seems where you can like the world's like you can just drive around in a tank or something like that.
Well, what sucks about this is so Mercenaries 1 is very gritty and realistic. So I always play as Mattias Nilsson. I think he's Swedish, and he's one of the three characters you could choose, and they each have different like abilities or whatever. Like it's not like super different gameplay by any means, but basically like I always play as Mattias Nilsson, and like he's like super serious. Like he's there for the money, right? Like he's just like a mercenary kind of through and through. The other guy is a professional soldier. He's an American, and there's a lady as well that I never played at as a kid, so I don't know much about her. But I like really liked how this game. You know how like Just Cause is kind of goofy, and
Yeah.
it's kind of like goofy, and it's like kind of fun and like whatever. I get it. Like obviously it's supposed to be a game. It's supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be like kind of a playground. This is a playground, quote unquote, of destruction. Mercenaries is. But it's in this like really gritty world. Like as you drive, like there's like bombs and artillery going off while civilians are driving their beat up cars trying to like get past like a village, and everything's all like beat to shit, and there's like sad music playing, and it's rainy, and there's hidden military installations on the side paths. There's conflicts of nations where like the Russian military will drive by the South Koreans, and maybe they're at conflict at that point, and they'll start shooting at each other.
Mm-hmm.
You can like steal military equipment for the Russian military. Like the game is like really gritty and really, really kind of realistic, especially for the PS2 era. And then when Mercenaries 2 comes out, which is called Mercenaries 2: A World in Flames on the 360, it's also on PS2, but it's a different game. That's maybe a fun fact for another time. But the 360 version, and I believe the PS3 version, it turns to that sort of Just Cause-ness, where it's sort of like, we're mercenaries and we're awesome, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it just becomes more goofy. And unfortunately, the game like becomes like kind of like mini games and stuff. And I missed like the grittiness. Like I've played Mercenaries because it's been re-released on the Xbox through backwards compatibility. And like there's just nothing that matches it. Like there's no game like it. It's just like, man, like I wish there was something like this where it's like this, super serious war zone, but yet it's still like a sandbox.
Let's make it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't exist, let's go make it, Matt.
I mean,
there's a niche there. If two of us like it, there's two other people in this world who also like it.
Have you ever played Mercenaries?
Yeah, the second one, not the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you like the second one?
Oh yeah, I played it a ton.
Maybe you should play that first one.
We always quote like ammo, but you don't quote that from Mercenaries. You quote that from something else.
I quote that from COD 3.
I always remember that from Mercenaries.
It is in Mercenaries. It is for
because
sure.
you would run out of ammo and you start like mashing the reload button or something, and he would just be like, "Ammo! I need ammo!" like stuff like that. So that's where I always said it from. But yeah, I like Mercenaries. All right, so me and Matt are gonna go make a game right now. I'm gonna download Unreal.
Oh,
it's gonna look like that Witcher 4 demo. So just hang tight.
I'm already sweating.
Day One Patch Media will be the next great CD Projekt Red.
Pandemic is dead, Ryan. Pandemic is dead.
Yeah. Are you saying we're trying to open Target in Canada after Zellers collapsed? Is that what you're trying to say to me?
I don't know if it's necessarily that bad, but like Pandemic would have like, or it did have like a much better career, portfolio, I guess. I was
It
gonna
had
say
popular
career.
games that people actually played.
Yeah, and it's like if we're starting and we're just like, yeah, man, just because Mercenaries was awesome, we're just gonna like succeed right away. It's kind of like, uh-oh, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Well, I mean, Saints Row is kind of dead, and that was also like a Mercenaries-esque sandboxy kind of game.
Yeah,
And I think Just Cause is kind of over and was kind of niche to begin with. So maybe, yeah, maybe we're not making good financial decisions here, Matt.
I mean, the other game I could think of is it's like similar and not similar at the same time is The Outfit. It's like that World War II game where you can call stuff in, because the big thing of Mercenaries is you call in airstrikes, right?
Right.
You call in
Yeah.
like artillery strikes and stuff and vehicles.
Yeah.
I did really like. I have this like really distinct memory. It's kind of off on topic, but I have this this really vivid memory of Mattias Nilsson talking to Fiona, which is like the like person that manages the radio. Like she calls in and does your intel and all that stuff. And she was like asking what you would do with the 100 million. And like Mattias Nilsson's is like just like a classic, like I'm gonna get like a gold encrusted like Lamborghini with like diamonds in the rims. Just like a classic mercenary, like I'm gonna go get this 100 million, then I'm just gonna live high on the hog.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Ryan.
Going to move on to our news stories for the week. First up, the next generation Xbox consoles will be powered by AMD in multi-year partnership. This is from Game Informer. Game Informer is back, baby. Remember Game Informer, kids?
I mean, I do. I'm not a kid though.
So Microsoft has announced a multi-year partnership with tech giant and graphics card manufacturer AMD. The deal will result in AMD technology powering the next generation of Xbox hardware. In a new video, Xbox president Sarah Bond explained that the partnership will see AMD co-engineer a silicon for a range of devices, including the next generation of Xbox consoles. Quote, together with AMD, we're advancing the state of art in gaming silicon to deliver the next generation of graphics innovation to unlock a deeper level of visual quality and immersive gameplay and player experiences enhanced with the power of AI, all while maintaining compatibility with your existing library of Xbox games, end quote. Bond says this move reinforces Xbox's mission to build a platform where players can take their games anywhere across multiple devices, such as handheld, PC, and cloud. So yeah, Matt, we're already in this next-gen console talk era. How do you feel about kind of what little we know about their decisions? The current Xbox is also based on a custom AMD chip. So, I mean, it's kind of not big news that they're working with AMD again.
I mean,
But
the big news in here is the fact that she said we'll see AMD co-engineer silicon for a range of devices, including the next generation of Xbox consoles, which means that my theory, which I don't know if we talked about on air or off, but my theory is that the ROG Ally Xbox partnership thing is just the beginning, and that this next generation will have an Xbox created handheld.
is it crazy to think that it might be a Switch-like device?
I think if they do that, I think they would do 2 runs of it. So what I mean by that is like they have Xbox Series S, they have Xbox Series X. I feel like X, they know that people are going to want the power and they're not going to want to have any sacrifices for the mobile. So they're probably going to like have just like console, basic, here's a console, looks nice, whatever, but here's just your home console. And then I think that the S, if anything, would be replaced by what you just said, the Switch equivalent.
That would be interesting, but would still be dockable. Is more or less in ROG Ally, but made by Xbox, and then can dock to a TV.
Well, see, here's one issue that we have right now is that there is a split in the industry or in the ecosystem, and that is that Xbox is obviously on Xbox consoles, but it's also on Xbox, or sorry, well, yeah, I guess it is called that. It's also on PCs with the Xbox launcher.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that last presentation that we saw where they were talking about the Xbox ROG Ally, they were talking a lot about how Xbox Play Anywhere is kind of front and center stage, because if you're, say, playing on your Xbox Series X or S and you start playing, like, I don't know, Oblivion Remastered, sure. And if it's an Xbox Play Anywhere title, you maybe let's just say you beat level 1 on your Xbox, and then you go on a trip that weekend, you could go and, start right at the beginning of level 2 with the ROG Ally Xbox thing.
Mm-hmm.
The big problem though is that if a game is not Xbox Play Anywhere it might not be available on the ROG Ally, or at the very least, your data might not be available. Because if let's say the game is like a console exclusive, it's not going to be on PC. If the game is on both, but it doesn't have cross data, like where like you just have an account and that account works across things, like No Man's Sky, for example. If you play on PC, your save is on PC. If you play on Xbox, your save is on Xbox. I've played both the Steam version and the Xbox console version, and my saves are different. Now, I don't know if it's an Xbox Play Anywhere title. Maybe it has that capability with the Xbox launcher. I don't know. But the point is that if it's not a part of that platform, or if it's not a part of that program, that means your data may not necessarily go over. And so you're going to have a weird rift where it's going to be like, Xbox Series S2 is a Switch thing. What does it run, though? Does it run Windows or does it run Xbox? And in my opinion, I think it has to run both.
Windows and Xbox.
I think it has to emulate it or something. However they technically get it to work. Because she says, like Sarah Bond says, all while maintaining compatibility with your existing library of Xbox games. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's a comprehensive compatibility, but I would say that you're going to start confusing people. And I think that they have to start choosing what they're going to do. Because like there are people out there right now that are going to go buy an Xbox ROG Ally and not understand that it won't play Xbox games, that it plays PC games.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee there's already confusion for that. Not for us, but for people that are just like gamers, they don't really follow the news. Guarantee there's already confusion for that.
Yeah.
So like, what's the solution? And here's a weird one. You have your Xbox ROG Ally. That's a PC. You release this Switch thing that we were just talking about, right? What is that? Is it a PC? So now you're selling an Xbox Series, in my like speculation, you're selling an Xbox Series X2, and then the Xbox Series S2 doesn't run the same stuff. You see where things are going to get messy?
I almost feel like the Xbox is going to run this new OS. Like I know it's Windows 11, but is that what we're on? Windows 11?
Yeah, Windows 11. Yeah.
I know the ROG Ally is running Windows 11, but like a gaming version of it, right? I wouldn't be surprised if the next Xbox runs that OS, because we've heard rumors of Steam potentially coming to Xbox consoles, and an easy way to do that would be to run Windows 11, and that would kind of solve all problems other than your existing libraries. So like if you already had Xbox console games, they're not going to become Steam games. But I guess so. You're saying it would have to emulate an Xbox to play those Xbox console games on the Windows 11 platform.
Like, yeah, in my opinion, in the future that you speculated, the handheld Series S and the regular Series X2, right? Whatever. In my opinion, you can't have that rift between Xbox games and Xbox PC games. You can't, like, I know you technically can, but in my opinion, in terms of like marketing strategy and clarity for the consumer, you can't do that, because like guarantee the parent that goes to buy this for their kid for Christmas is going to look and say, oh, the handheld, if it exists, is cheaper. And the kid already has an Xbox Series X or something. And then their entire library may not be compatible. Like a lot of it will be, but not all of it. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, well, why isn't this compatible? Blah, blah. And it's an issue. Now, as far as I understand it, and I don't fully understand it, so I'm speculating, the Xbox Series X is running like some sort of heavily modified version of Windows.
Yeah.
As far as I understand it. So, maybe it's not even emulation. Maybe it's just some sort of compatibility thing where they're just going to bridge the gap and then that's it. Mm-hmm. But then you have a question as to what is the future then? Is the future, like, do people then, when they make new games, do they make Xbox games or do they make PC games? Like the very fact that Game Pass had to have a tier where it's like, this is Xbox Game Pass PC, and then there's Xbox Game Pass. It like they're making a clear distinction. Like, hey, there's two separate Game Passes, and then if you want Ultimate, you get everything. Yeah.
All right. So, well, now I'm less inclined to believe what I just said, that the new console is going to run this new Windows 11 OS. I think it's still going to be the Xbox OS. I think that's the simplest solution.
What's weird is you suggested it, and I'm with you, but you're against your own theory, because I think that they'd be able to figure it out.
I guess I just don't know if they want to have that confusion of oh, how do I play my previous Xbox games on this thing? Unless they just could they emulate it? Is
That's
that
what
good
I'm
enough?
saying. Emulated or like however they would do it, because they're the ones that engineered it. Like if it is running some sort of version of Windows, can you, with the proper know-how, get an Xbox game
I mean,
to run on Windows?
people talk about how good like things like Proton and Rosetta are at translating things to different systems. Maybe this thing could run an Xbox game on Windows 11 using something like Proton. You know what I mean?
But I don't even know if you would need to go that far, because if they are so closely related, like Windows
But
to
they'd have to
Linux
know
is a
like what to
stretch,
grab for graphics and all the technical stuff that happens in the background, right?
right?
Isn't that different on the console than it is on a PC?
But that could be up to some sort of lighter weight translation layer,
Yeah,
potentially.
yeah.
Because here's the thing. There, emulators are created. Obviously, we have them. PCSX2 and things like that. And there is a 360 and there is a PS3 emulator. Those emulators are just kind of coming along now. Now, I will say it's obviously because they don't have Microsoft and Sony helping them. There's a lot of people that are, speculating, they're experimenting, they're figuring out how to get this thing to work, they're
Yeah.
reverse engineering things, whatever the case is, but they're not doing so with a manual. There is no manual to do it. So, given the right tools and the right know-how, is it possible to emulate? Maybe. Or maybe, like, again, maybe it's just compatibility.
Hmm.
But then you enter in another issue where then is Xbox just PC?
Yeah.
And
Yes,
then
it is. Yeah.
and then there's another problem, because if it isn't and you want to have them both be separate, what do you do with people buying a bunch of Xbox games if Xbox does truly want to leave the hardware market for the next gen?
Hmm. Unless they don't think they're going to.
Which is totally possible. Like, absolutely. I just think that this is
I
a rift that's going to confuse people in the same way that Copilot Plus PCs were all ARM PCs, which was already confusing. And now we have Copilot Plus PCs that are not ARM PCs. So ARM already confused people. Now we have this weird other Copilot Plus branding. Not good. I think it's a rift that you don't need.
I mean, Xbox's mantra right now is basically like play the games you want to play wherever you want to play them. They don't want to get in the way of where you play your games. They just want you playing games.
Right.
Obviously, they want you playing their games, but they're like play them wherever you want and take your save wherever you want. And they want it to be more like a Blu-ray player where it's like you could have a Toshiba one or a Sony one or an LG one, but they all play the same movie. And I think Xbox kind of wants that future where you buy whatever box you want and you play your games on it, right? And the
Right.
war becomes fighting over people's time rather than trying to sell them a box, right? They now want to be Netflix instead of, PlayStation. That's basically what it is.
Well, they've kind of gone a little bit money mode, where they're like, you know what? Let's just make money gaming instead of this
Yeah.
console war bullshit.
Yeah.
Let's make money.
It is kind of ridiculous because both consoles are basically equal in power and always have been. You can argue over the teraflops and mine's the actual 1080, yours is only 900p, and you can argue all, but they've basically been on par since they've been competing. No one's really had a console that's been like so much more powerful than the other one. And at the end of the day, they always just they tune it down to the PS5 if it's worse performance than the Xbox because it's like they're gonna do the lowest common denominator, you know. Um, and then you have a PS5 Pro in there, and it's kind of all just confusing. So I think they just want to have they're just gonna come up with new boxes every year, just like a phone. You get a new phone when it stops performing as good as you want, and you just play your games into the future. I think that's the Xbox vision.
You think it's going to be that often though? Because one of the things that Xbox seems to be doing right now is
I don't think every
helping.
like year or two.
Okay, because I was going to say like helping price consciousness, and that's very not price conscious.
No, there will still be like 5+ year console cycles,
Right.
but I think it'll be like the PS4, where the PS4 still played a lot of games into the PS5's life, and it's like you would just upgrade when you finally get sick of your console not performing as good as you want, you know. And they'll just make the software for these things. They'll all run the same software, and then that's it.
Well,
The question is whether
thing,
PlayStation see what they do. They still seem very much locked in your console, locked to do our games, that kind of thing.
Well, I think they want that console money. They're trying to lock you
Yeah.
into that platform. They want that console money.
Hmm.
I think the thing with all our Xbox theories right now is it really hinges on whether or not, or it really hinges on the handheld strategy and whether or not Microsoft gets into the handheld market, because they might not. They might just say, here's an Xbox console. If you want a handheld, use one of our partner devices.
Hmm.
I did look this up, and this is a Gemini overview, so it's not necessarily going to be perfect, but it says the Xbox Series X does not run a standard version of Windows that you would find on a PC. Because I just asked, does Xbox Series X run Windows? While the Xbox operating system is based on a modified version of Windows, it is a highly specialized system designed for gaming and console functionality, not a general purpose PC operating system.
Yeah.
It it incorporates features like DirectX, optimized for gaming, etc. The thing here is, though, is they're the ones that engineered this.
Hmm.
So I think they could bridge the gap. Like they would be the ones to bridge the gap.
It's probably not too far off.
Well,
If
it's
it's just a
x86
modified version of, yeah, and it's x86. So that maybe they could get it to run. That'd be kind of cool.
Like, what if it actually boots into a new OS, but just never tells you? Like, you
Yeah.
just click an Xbox game and it's completely like you don't even notice it.
It should
And
it
just
should
takes
be
a bit.
seamless. Yeah. Now, what do you think about this AMD partnership? I always think it's interesting that, like, in the PC space, AMD graphics cards always seem second to NVIDIA's cards, but NVIDIA doesn't seem to be anywhere on the console space right now. PlayStation's using AMD, Xbox uses AMD. I forget what the Switch is using. Do you know what the Switch was using?
I thought it was AMD, but I'm not
It
100%
might
sure
be
on that.
AMD.
Although it wasn't it using like a modified NVIDIA Shield something something something.
The first Switch was, yeah.
I like that it's AMD for the Xbox though. Like I think that they've been doing a good job at kind of gaming PC stuff, and I know NVIDIA is kind of still the king in terms of GPUs, but AMD has really been taking a swing at NVIDIA right now in the PC GPU space, and NVIDIA is kind of going down a pathway for powering AI right now. So they're kind of in a different thought process, I feel like. So I think AMD is still in the gamer centric like kind of thought space, headspace.
Okay, hang on. I'm just looking up the specs for the Switch 2.
Like, does it use NVIDIA
CPU
or?
architecture? NVIDIA T239,
Okay, so there you go.
8X ARM Cortex A78C. The first one used in NVIDIA Tegra X1. So they're using NVIDIA for some reason. I wonder how that came about.
Well, I think it's because they were like the NVIDIA Shield when the Switch came out was like a really good Android handheld.
Yeah. And then you got to think about Intel, how they kind of just missed the boat several times in terms of getting their chips into mobile, into console. Apple dumped them. Like, it's just, why weren't they there? Why weren't they there making, they have a graphics card now. They always had integrated graphics. Why aren't they making gaming things for consoles? It's like, I don't know. It's weird.
Well, they've been accused of kind of being stagnant while AMD was catching up.
Yeah.
And then once AMD caught up, they kind of had to scramble. And then they had all the bad stuff that happens with scrambling kind of happen to them.
I'm curious how they're doing now.
It's a good question, honestly.
Like even the latest AMD CPUs are considered the best for gaming. So it's like, I guess maybe just general use are still using Intel. A lot of work laptops probably use Intel, right? I think mine does.
I was going to say, like, I mean, a Titan like Intel doesn't go to sleep quickly.
Yeah.
Or quietly, right? Like, I mean, they're going to have a lot of partnerships. They're going to have a lot of contracts. And
Probably
it wasn't
servers,
like
maybe.
running servers. And like, I mean, like, it wasn't like Intel wasn't making CPUs that worked.
Yeah.
I mean, it's older now, probably 5+ years old now, but my Lenovo Legion runs Intel.
Mm-hmm.
And like, when I go to buy a laptop, like a lot of it has to do with just like performance and price. I don't really look too much at like, is this AMD? Is this Intel? Like, I don't really care too much when it comes to laptop stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, they seem to have it locked down for quite a while now. I think they seem to be the go-to people for console chips.
Who, Intel?
No, AMD.
Yeah. Well, even the Wii was ATI.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember the sticker.
Yeah, there's an ATI little logo on there.
All right, let's move on to our next story. Witcher 4 CD Projekt Red is taking a console-first development approach, but with good reason. This is from IGN. Earlier this month, CD Projekt revealed a stunning The Witcher 4 demo built using Unreal Engine 5 that gave fans a clear sense of what to expect from the game. The tech demo, captured on a PlayStation 5 and running at 60 frames per second, follows Ciri as she explores the never-before-seen region Kovir in the midst of a monster contract. Speaking to the tech experts at Digital Foundry following the demo reveal, CDPR's VP of Technology, Charles Tremblay, explained why the studio showed off the Witcher 4 demo running on PS5 first and before PC, saying it's going for a console-first development approach for the game. Quote, "We always do PC and we push and then we try to scale down. But then we had so many problems in the past that we tried to say, this time around, we really want to be more console-first development. We wanted to solve certain foundations. It's pretty logical when you think about it because it's easier to scale up than down. We knew that once we set up certain foundations, both visually and technically, there's room to scale up. Now, what that means is another question. We're CDPR. We always like to push PCs to the limit. It's just a creative process how to really use it." End quote. Tremblay then stepped into to insist PC gamers will get their money's worth from The Witcher 4 when it eventually comes out, despite the console-first approach. Quote, "In the past, something that's super important for the group is that if people pay good money for their hardware, then we want them to have what the game can provide for that, not like a simplified experience." End quote. So I thought this was interesting. Obviously, Cyberpunk had major issues on console, more so on PS4 and Xbox One, to the point where they removed them from the stores. You remember that?
Yep,
That was pretty wild. And then I guess the PS5 version ran okay. Could maybe just the power had enough to kind of push through a lot of issues, but it was still apparently a pretty bad experience. So how do you feel about them taking a console first approach?
I mean, when he talks about it, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, like a lot of the scale up would be graphics, and I assume, you could just add more, like better textures and things like that to get started. Mm-hmm. And then other things like lighting and stuff, I'm sure would be more complicated. Maybe the game engines are very capable of, scaling up because he sounds confident. I will say though that it is a question as to how much is it going to scale up for PC folks. I mean, people in the PC sphere, especially if they have good PCs, new PCs, whatever, they really want to see, the absolute best. They really want to push that hardware. They really want that hardware to work and to be used. And so it'll be interesting to see whether this console first approach limits them at all, where, yeah, they're going to scale up, but like maybe not as much as before. And I'm sure that that's a lot of people's concern. But I will say also that are the console people, short of the whole Cyberpunk incident, are the console people ever, super worried about things being not scaled down enough from the PC version? Like, it certainly happens, but is that ever a concern? I feel like the PC market would be concerned about this. And I don't know. I don't know whether they should be. Maybe.
To me, the gap is never really that big anymore between PC and console. It's like, okay, sure, on console, you can't really do 4K 60 on all games, and maybe you can on PC. But it's like, okay, but I can do 4K 30, and so it just looks as good, but just isn't running at the same frame rate.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's not a huge gap, at least as far as I can see, by the games I play on both console and PC. It's like you can tell it looks a little nicer on PC, but it's like I think you'd be hard pressed to really choose between the two nowadays. So they can say they're going to scale it up and, really take advantage of whatever, 60, 90 or 70, 90, whatever this game comes out, and really take advantage of it. But I don't know if it's going to be that big of a jump. And this game's running on a base PS5, but again, it's probably not going to come out until the PS6 is out, which should theoretically be more powerful than the PS5 Pro even.
You don't think The Witcher's going to come out till the PS6?
You think it's going to come out soon?
I think if they're targeting the base PS5 especially, I would think. Because I don't think
it's going to be that mid-generation thing too, just like Cyberpunk was. PS4 and PS5. This one's going to be PS5 and PS6, I think. Right,
but like to me, I think you would target maybe this is wrong, but maybe you would target PS5 Pro. So then you're getting kind of like a hybrid look at like, okay, it's PS5, but it's enhanced. And that's one step toward the PS6. And so we could downscale a little bit to get to the PS5. And then we could upscale not as much to get to the PS6. Now, maybe, that might be foolish. Like maybe they don't want the sort of quote unquote responsibility of scaling up and down. Maybe they just want to scale up, kind of like what he was saying. So, you might be right in that they are aiming for PS6, but they're starting for PS5 because it's the lowest common denominator out of everything. That's totally possible. I just thinking that, and this again, I'm not a game developer, but I always kind of think that they're going to struggle developing for the PS6 for the first time. So you would want to get something as close as possible to that to mitigate that issue. However, I mean, if you just release a game that looks good but doesn't push the PS6, is that really that big of a deal? Maybe not.
Right, yeah. So there is no release date currently. And this build they showed off was specifically made to show off Unreal Engine. It's not necessarily the actual game we're seeing. It's literally just a demo they made, using the technology of Unreal and the power of a PS5. I just don't know if this game's going to come out soon. It's they've only showed off like one CG trailer. We're already talking about next gen consoles. So let's say they announce this PS6 next year, and then it comes out the following year. That's 2 years away. Do you think The Witcher is going to release in those 2 years?
I kind of expected it to release within a year or two. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Well,
because the way I think of it is they've shown off, yeah, sure, like a tailored demo. Obviously, there's a bunch of work to be had. They showed off a CGI trailer, but they've been in the Witcher world before. Mm-hmm. This isn't Cyberpunk where they've never done driving and they've never done all these other things that aren't in the Witcher but were in Cyberpunk. Mm-hmm. They've been in they've been in that fantasy world before, and so a lot of the creative is done for them because they know the general background lore. So they have to write a new story in that. And if they're shooting for the PS5, like to me, I because it was the base PS5 that they're shooting for, I just kind of assumed, and this is totally an assumption, that they were going to come out, relatively soon, like within 2 years.
Well, you mentioned the PS5 Pro. They can't target the PS5 Pro because if it's launching on a PS5 Pro, it has to launch on a PS5. Right. So they're going to target the one it's going to launch on, which is a PS5, which more people own. I don't even know how few people own a PS5 Pro.
But when you're saying that cross-gen thing, like the thing that got me kind of confused was or not confused, but the thing that got me thinking was if you are planning to release on a PS6, I would imagine your PS6 version is going to be front and center. And it kind of sounds like the PS5 version is front and center right now. And so I understand from a technical perspective, the whole like start low and then scale up. But I mean, are people then going to say like, I don't get the PS6 version, get the PS5 version? Like how much are they going to be able to scale this thing up on a console that they're not familiar with? PC, they're familiar with. I mean, CD Projekt Red has done it and does do it.
I think we're out of the days of the next gen consoles being a drastically different architecture. They're going to use AMD chips. We already know Xbox is going to use AMD chips. Right. Imagine Sony will also use a new AMD chip. So the architecture is going to be pretty similar. So I don't think it's going to be that crazy for them to develop for PS6. They're probably targeting a PS5 and they'll probably, maybe port it to a PS6 or make a PS6 version, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal for them.
And you can be totally correct. Totally correct. I kind of figured that they would use the PS5 Pro almost as a very unofficial dev kit for the PS6 in a way. Because, well, okay, let me ask you this. Do you think that this thing is going to launch simultaneously on PS5 and PS6? Because I could see them releasing a PS5 version before the PS6 comes out and then releasing like a complete edition or definitive edition or whatever on the PS6. Do you like what way do you think it's going to be? Like, do you think it's going to be day one, it's on PS5 and PS6?
Yes.
You think it's going to be that?
Yeah. Although I'm not opposed to what you just said. That's very possible too.
Because that would give them time. Like, I still think it's going to take some time. Obviously not as much, like you're right. The console jumps aren't going to be that crazy. They've kind of like figured out the architecture in that. Like everything seems to be x86 now and whatever. Like there's a bunch of other things. It just, I don't know. It feels like a stretch to me to be like, yeah, we're gonna develop on a base PS5 and then we're going to try to shoot to have our new fancy Witcher game released on the new fancy Sony console.
Isn't that what you normally do though? When a new console launches, you launch a game on that new console?
No, yes, you do. But what I mean is that like for the PC, they have experience. For the PS6, they wouldn't. And so what I'm saying is that
But they
they're
likely would get dev kits, right? For PS6.
right, but it sounds like they wouldn't be really developing on that right away.
No, but they'd be able to port their PS5 version to a PS6 version.
Yes,
Now, it's very possible because it's like you could release back in the day a PS4 version of a game and it's playable on PS5. So like what you were saying.
right.
That yeah, I'm open to that too. But I don't think this game is going to launch until a PS6 is out.
No, see that's where we disagree.
Okay.
I think this is like I definitely think they're going to release it on PS6,
Mhm.
probably as like a definitive or whatever complete collection. I
Now
don't
remember, this is CDPR. They released that Cyberpunk trailer like 10 years before the game launched.
but
They weren't
but
working on it that entire time, but it was still a long time.
but Cyberpunk is different because they've never done Cyberpunk before. They've done Witcher before.
Okay, yeah, we'll see. Panzo bet?
I'm down with the Panzo bet.
All
That
right,
sounds
Panzo
good.
bet. There you go.
Now hang on. What's the Panzo bet? That the PS6 will be out after the Witcher 4 releases.
The PS6 will be purchasable when The Witcher 4 comes out.
Okay, hang on. Does it have is the criteria that The Witcher 4 has to come out on both?
Yes, right? Because
I don't think it needs to be that. I was just going to say The Witcher 4 comes out before the PS6 comes out. Like if it's June 1st and the Witcher 4 comes out and the PS6 comes out June 2nd, I win the bet.
say that again. If it's June 1st,
If it's June 1st and the Witcher 4 comes out and then June 2nd the PS6 comes out, I win the bet.
yes,
Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
I'm saying that the PS6 will be purchasable. It will have launched. Its launch day will be out, and The Witcher 4 will launch either on launch day or sometime after.
Right. Okay.
Not pre-order day, not announcement of the PS6. I think it will be for sale when The Witcher 4 is also going to then become for sale.
Right, because they may announce like The Witcher 4 is coming soon in the launch window. That doesn't.
You got to
count.
remember delays too. Games get delayed, right? So, all right. That's it for stories this week. We got a query corner question.
That we do.
This week's is, what game mechanics do you wish other genres or genres of games would share more? We got some examples here just to kind of kick off a conversation. Obviously, the Nemesis system is like a famous one because it was developed for Shadow of War or Shadow of Mordor, and then they everyone liked it. I remember a lot of people being like, "Oh man, we're going to see this in games all over the place. Everyone's going to be using this mechanic." And then they copyrighted it or trademarked it or whatever they did.
Patented it. And
it's like, okay, no one else is using this because no one's going to pay the licensing to use this system. And then the Wonder Woman game was going to use it. That got canned. So
isn't Monolith dead?
Hmm?
Isn't Monolith dead now too?
Are they dead or are they just
I thought
in
Monolith
limbo?
I thought Monolith shut down. I thought we covered that.
Did they kill Monolith?
Yes. Monolith Productions, a prominent video game development studio, was shut down by Warner Brothers on February 25th, 2025. Along with the shutdown, they also, of course, canceled Wonder Woman.
How insane is that? They made 2 successful games, and then they're working on Wonder Woman, a big IP from Warner Brothers, and you just shut them down? Like, that's wild, isn't it?
It's one of those crazy things. Like, to me, is it's like I get it because it's like this is big business. There's no emotion. I'm not hanging on to anything. If it's dead weight, you're out. If it's a mistake, you're out. If you're not as productive, you're out. If you're not growing, you're out. There's a bunch of things where you're just out. I get it. But, looking as a human from the outside in, it's like, damn, like I could have kept them around for a bit,
Yeah. WB's been making some big changes, though, trying to correct their ship that's kind of somewhat sinking.
Taking on some water.
They have a lot of debt, I think, is what happened to them or something like that. They just, the board, like, not disapproved, like a pay increase for the CEO or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Because they're trying to, I think, save their money. But anyway, yeah, there's the Nemesis system. We got stuff like deck building, things like what you see in the Slay the Spire and Inscription. Dialogue as a weapon. I didn't understand this one when you first were reading this off to me, Matt, but then it lists Disco Elysium as an option. That's interesting. I'm not sure how that would work, but that's an interesting one. Time loops like in Deathloop and Outer Wilds, asynchronous multiplayer like Dark Souls messages, Watch Dogs invasions. I forgot about Watch Dogs invasions.
Yep.
Holy cow.
I did that. I invaded you, I remember.
Yeah. That's pretty wild. And yeah, like Dark Souls and Demon Souls and Bloodborne, and they all have invasions too. Those are kind of fun. So yeah, Matt, just let me know if you'd like to kind of look these over, and is there anything you want to see kind of cross genre boundaries?
Yeah, cross genre or cross like franchises or whatever.
Hmm.
I mean, what's kind of crazy is like in the gaming fun fact, we just talked about the Deck of 52. And I mean, that is not quite a Nemesis system, but it freaking could be. And that would
Yeah.
be super cool. I mean, that's an open world, not RPG, but open world sandbox action game.
Hmm.
So that would be super cool to see something like the Nemesis system where, I mean, a big part of the Nemesis system is, of course, the hierarchy, but it's also the fact that they remember you. Like, oh, like that guy's afraid of fire and you scared them with fire, or they weren't afraid of fire, you burned them and now they're afraid of fire.
Yeah.
Things like that. So that's pretty cool. Also, you can ally with people, they betray you, all that kind of stuff. That would be kind of interesting in like a Mercenaries game or in an open game like that. Like, could you imagine like even like a Just Cause where, I mean, I only played the first and the second one, but it's like, you're kind of trying to, overthrow a government. You're doing some like kind of shady CIA stuff. And it's like, hey, I'm going to like choose who to ally with. I'll ally with these like fighters in the jungle or whatever, these like rebels. And then those rebels, remember you have a rapport with them, and one day they betray you, and that's not scripted. And so like, you ally with all these people, you make certain enemies, of course, allying with some who you're probably like allying with people who are enemies of someone else. And so, now you've made an enemy and an ally. You go to like call in a tank, or you go to call in some help, or you go into one of their bases and they capture you, and they give you
Hmm.
up, or something like that. Like that would be super cool for gameplay, I think. What do you think, Ryan? Like, is there anything that like stands out to you?
Well, it was funny with Death Stranding 2 coming out soon. I was like, what about the Strand genre that Kojima
Oh
kind of talked
God,
about launching? And that made me think, I don't really know what the Strand genre was. Was it
I
just
don't.
connecting places
Well,
together?
I was gonna say I don't, and I like that I don't. Like my favorite part about Death Stranding was just like, man, that was a cutscene. Anyway, where do I need to go and why and what am I doing?
So here's a Reddit post. What is a Strand type game?
Yeah, it's
This person here says a strand type game is basically a game where your objectives are mostly or entirely achieved through social interaction, as opposed to combat, farming, building, etc., to connect things. They're named for Death Stranding, where the U.S. has been fractured by the arrival of BTs into dozens of individual cities. Your primary objective is to create strands connections that allow cities to interact and share information again. You also interact with other players by finding stuff they were trying to deliver, but lost or dropped, and completing the delivery. I've seen arguments for things like Animal Crossing and Stardew as strand games, but the
oh.
primary objective in them doesn't seem to be the socialization, but rather the socialization is a means to do other things.
So there's like, I mean that I mean I think that might be a bit of a stretch, but there's like a strand like mechanic, social mechanic, I guess. I don't I
Yeah.
don't know what I would, the strand genre crossing into another genre. The first thing I think of is not a specific example, but the example would be something you do in the background. Almost like something you do as a side activity. Like it's like, hey, I'm going to like, strengthen my, if I'm running like the front line of a war, I'm going to strengthen my like supply lines and stuff, and so I'm stranding them together or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know if that can really be moved into other games. Although there's stuff like maybe we expand the strands genre to be more just that socialization thing. Because do you remember what's that game you played at my house and you finished it in one night? A lot of people's favorite game,
Journey.
Journey. It's like there's that moment where you find another like little Journey dude and you work together to like complete the puzzle or whatever. And people didn't know you were doing it with another person.
Yeah, that's
That was
super
a
cool.
real life person playing, not just an AI. That would kind of be cool if it was if I don't know RPGs or something had more of a pop in pop out thing without you even kind of realizing they're helping you. You
Well,
know,
one example, and it's adversarial, is in the Sniper Elite series. You can spawn into someone else's game and be the adversarial sniper
that's so scary. Holy
in their
man,
campaign, like in the middle of their campaign, which is
that's
crazy.
scary. I don't like being like hunted like that.
That's fucking pretty cool, though. I like that a lot.
Deathloop was kind of like that too. You would know when you were invaded, but then they would try to kill you while you were trying to kill a target. That was always stressful. Jeez, I didn't like doing that. So maybe I don't want this. But I want it to be more cooperative. Like I'm playing Oblivion. What if like I was in like a dungeon or something, and another adventurer shows up, and we just take on the dungeon together. You know?
That'd be kind of cool. Like if it was dynamic like that,
Yeah,
that'd be like pretty dang cool.
yeah.
There was like something, I mean, very very loosely like that in Fable 2, where you could turn on what they call orbs, and orbs were just other people, and all it literally was it was very like unrealistic. It was just you would see a little circle and their gamer picture on the 360, and you would just see like, oh, I'm in the city, and there's like 100 orbs around me and stuff like that. That's super cool. And then you'd be out in the wilderness and there wouldn't be any orbs for a while, and then you see someone run by and it's like, wow, I'm in in the middle of nowhere, and there's other players in their own game though, but
Hmm.
playing in this specific part of the game. And I loved it. I turned that thing on, never turned it off
That's cool. Yeah.
after I found out, because I think it's off by default or on limited or something. But one other thing that stood out to me here in this list of examples is in world UI. So the example that they give here is the Dead Space health bar on the I forget his name now, but on the main guy's spine.
Isaac.
Isaac, that's it. This reminds me, this is like less of an idea, I guess, but this reminds me of the King Kong game on the 360 for the movie,
Jeez. Yeah.
where there's no UI. And so you literally, if you have a gun, you press B, and your guy tells you, I got two bullets on backup. And if you have a lot of ammo, he won't tell you how much. He's like, I'm okay on ammo right now. And you won't get a count of 40, 50 or whatever. I think that's super cool. That boosts immersion. So I don't have a
Yeah.
direct example, but that's something that you could use.
Isn't I could be totally wrong about this. Isn't Metro like that? Or no?
Holy crap, I can't remember. It's been a long time since I played Metro.
I thought Metro, like you could almost like see into the magazine or something, and you would know how many bullets you have left. Like it would be like a
Maybe.
side loading magazine. You could see all the rounds in there.
That is a thing for a certain gun. There's like side loading guns, but I can't remember. Learned something crazy about Metro. Real random off topic. The good ending, which barely anyone got, you're not supposed to kill anybody.
That's how you get it.
You're supposed, and it's the game. It's the ending that you're supposed, quote unquote, supposed to do. You're only supposed to kill mutants. Little side thing, as that buddy told me. But
That's interesting.
I think the in world UI could really be used somewhere, because it, like, we're calling it in world UI. Obviously, the King Kong thing is like I don't know if you'd call it UI, but it's like an audio thing where the guy talks
Yeah,
to you. But that like in universe confirmation is like super cool,
that is cool. Yeah.
rather than just being like, what's my number? What's my number? What's my ammo at? There's another one here that I thought was kind of cool, and it's the psychological stats. So this example is that it's used in Darkest Dungeon. There's a fear meter in Internal Darkness, things like that. So like immediately,
Oh
what I
wow.
think is you could use this in high stress situations. So think of like you're playing like an RTS game, and your frontline soldiers have been in the fight forever, and maybe they're full health, like maybe you've been healing them and doing whatever, but they're in a high stress situation, and so they're going to start making mistakes. They're going to start breaking down. They're not going to be able to handle it for long, and so you almost have to like rotate troops out, and so you have yet another logistical problem, which is basically what these games are, right? Like you solve problems, you strategize. That would be super cool. And then there's an example in here where it's like characters or athletes under pressure could make mistakes. So if you're constantly using the, you're playing like FIFA or whatever it's called now, FC, you're playing like various games, hockey, whatever, and you don't like swap out your players, or you like rely on one to constantly score. Like that person could become stressed out. They're more susceptible to injury or whatever. That would be pretty interesting. That'd be a pretty difficult thing to manage, and that's a cross genre thing, because
Yeah.
like fear in that, like the fear meter, like I said, that's obviously specifically put into the not the psychological genre, the horror genre. That's in like the horror genre. So instead of just like kind of leaving it there, it's like bring it into sports, maybe bring it into shooters, bring it into RTS. That'd be kind of cool.
What was the zombie game we played? The Xbox one. The third one's supposed to be coming out. They announced it a long time ago, but it's not coming out yet. We
That
played it on
Dead Island?
stream. No, we played it on
No,
stream.
you said zombie game.
Yeah. Third person. You have backpacks. We
Oh,
drove
State of
around.
Decay. State of Decay.
Didn't State of Decay have like a fatigue kind of thing where like your characters would have to take like rests?
Yep.
So that's kind of cool in those kind of situations. Or even you brought up like a battle or something. Because that's a real thing where it's like the readiness of your troops can affect your battle and whether you win or not. If you're not getting new, people out there to take over and let the other troops rest, that could decide the battle in one way or the other. So that kind of stuff would be kind of neat.
Well, especially in an RTS where a lot of RTS games have a veterancy mechanic
Yeah.
where you use like a specific soldier, let's just say like a company of heroes, and you keep them alive, you keep giving them replacements, giving them medical supplies, and they're doing fantastic. Like they've killed a lot of units, they've won a lot of battles. Their veterancy will go up, and the veterancy gives them certain bonuses, and veterancy is obviously hard to get because they could be killed. So it's really valuable. But it'd be cool to be like, hey, instead of like just pushing your troops to the point where it's like, get more veterancy kind of thing. Because veterancy in a way is already like a thing that forces you to not go too hard. Because it's like, I can't just run in there because the guys are gonna die and I'm gonna lose a veterancy. It's like if I want my army to be experienced and have veterancy, I have to like play strategically, retreat when needed, take care of my troops. This would be
Yeah.
another thing where it's like, hey, just because I have 2 units that are max veterancy, I can't always send those guys in.
Yeah.
Those can't always be my, SEAL Team 6 or whatever.
Yeah. I like things like that make it more real because that does make it a little bit more immersive, or just like it makes you feel like you're actually you have more control over what's going on, even though it's like limiting you in a way. It makes you feel more like a decision maker, which I kind of enjoy.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like it's like it's like starts to bridge, I guess, the gap between those RTS games that are mostly action and ones that are like mostly strategy. It'd be kind of cool. Like adding mechanics like that, I feel like would be a nice like hybrid where it's like you're starting to get like some, pretty complex strategy mechanics that aren't just about like make sure you flank when you shoot, shit like that.
Yeah.
There's one thing here that I actually am against, and it's deck building.
Oh,
So
okay.
they give Slay the Spire and Inscription as examples.
You're against it coming out to any other.
Yeah, because
game.
like the suggestion here is that you can use the deck building mechanic in action RPGs or platformers. You, Ryan, not an action RPG or a platformer, but a shooter, you mentioned that they did this in Back 4 Blood, and I fucking hated it.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be honest. So there's something about building a deck of cards, and that's not in a card game where I'm like, man, I don't want to do this. Man.
You have to spend a lot of time thinking about like what cards to put with what, and it's always like it's a give and take. It's like, oh, I really need a shotgun on this level, and so I better make sure I got shotgun perks or something. It's like I want to use the gun I want to use.
Yeah,
I don't want to use a shotgun. You know what I mean? Even if it's better for that level or whatever. So yeah, that I don't want a card based system. Yeah.
Well, even if it was a simpler card-based system, cards make it feel cheaper. Where instead of it,
that's true.
Even like in a mechanic, it's like, oh, I got to send this guy to a training facility to level up, or I have to shoot shotguns a lot to level up my shotgun skill. It feels cheap to just be like, I'm choosing the shotgun card. It's like, oh,
yeah,
like man. So I actually think personally, deck building for me should stay in deck building games.
You heard it here. Deck building sucks.
For me, yeah, big time.
Yeah, I agree. No more deck building unless it's a deck building game.
Yeah, because like Yu-Gi-Oh, like they released that like classic collection or whatever it is with all the classic games. I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh because I'm there for the cards. Like I'm there to play Yu-Gi-Oh. I do not want to freaking play Yu-Gi-Oh in Back 4 Blood.
We also played it at a time when there's only like a handful of cards. There wasn't like the oodles and oodles of cards they have now. You know what I mean?
Oh, for Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah, it's like when I was playing, I knew every single card and what it did.
Right.
But now it's like I don't know what's going on. Same with Pokemon. You knew that original however many number it was, and now they just keep adding more and more and more and more and more, and it's like I'm done.
Wasn't it 150 and 151 with Mewtwo?
Yeah, something like that. So
you used to have the handbook. Everyone had the handbook.
Everyone had the handbook. Yep.
You know what I have? I have the Sears Pokedex.
That's pretty good. Was that an exclusive to Sears?
I think so. And boy, oh boy, did I fucking use the shit out of that thing as a kid. I still have it. Like, it wasn't like I bought it as a collector. Like, I just have it.
You just have it? Yeah. That's pretty crazy. All right. That's it for the Query Corner question and news for the week. Moving on to what we're playing, Matt. What are you playing?
I have continued to play Atomfall. I didn't get too much done. I got maybe like 2 sessions in. But I decided to keep playing this game. I was kind of on the fence as to whether I should play it or not. But I decided to continue because I'm trying to play it a little bit more organically. So I was getting caught up, and I still am a little bit on this whole like, oh, like leads found, system or whatever. Because you're supposed to be solving a mystery. But I actually kind of got into it. So there was like some grease in the village. So like, I mean, do you mind if I spoil something, Ryan?
Go for it.
So I was just about to walk into the forest because the commander guy who I'm working for wants me to go into the forest and do an objective. And as I was walking out of the village, I kind of got into the village in a weird like back door kind of way. So I was kind of walking out of the official entrance, I'd call it. And I was like, man, there's a church up there. And I was like, man, maybe I should check it out. So I turned around and I checked it out. And I walked in and someone was dead. And like the priest and I guess his assistant were there. And he's like, oh, like don't tell anybody, they'll lock us up, blah, 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 and all this. And I'm like, man, like someone's been murdered here. Like, what are you talking about? And this priest starts saying like, well, I'll clean it up. It's fine. And he's being kind of shady with me. And I'm like, okay, like I kind of like question him and he won't talk to me anymore. So I question his assistant and she says, if you really want to play detective, look around the crime scene. Okay, do that. And I find this like little mystery where like, okay, the priest hired this person to watch somebody. Where, did she get herself in trouble? I kind of retrace her steps, find out where she was going. I ended up getting some schematics for like Molotov and stuff, getting some loot and things like that. And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool in this like random kind of hidden basement. And I was like, all right, like that was pretty neat. And so I went back to the priest and I like kind of have some options. And it's like, hey, like, this guy is happy that I found out like because I found out who killed his like assistant. And he's like, hey, like you should deal with him. And I was like, wait, you want me to kill him? Like, you're a priest. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, like, just deal with him. Like, I just kind of tell my followers to figure out what to do and they know what to do. Like, kind of like dodging it a little bit, right? Like, kind of being shady. And he's like, if you ever need help, like, I help people and blah, blah, blah. And so there was like a part of the conversation where I could say, hey, like, people that help you, like, really should get a reward. And so he gave me a reward. But what was interesting was he gave me a reward because I heard that someone had paid him or given him like this radioactive battery thing. And I wanted it. And then because I knew about it, it came up in conversation. He's like, where the hell did you hear that? And he's like, well, you're right. Like, you can have it. Just go upstairs and unlock it. Here's like the key to the chest and just go upstairs and get it and you won't get in trouble. And then you have the option and there's no like quest objective that's taking you there, but you find out that one of the people in the village is problematic. And so you have the option of going to the commander and ratting out the church, even though you said you wouldn't and you took all their stuff. Or you can just rat out the person that killed that person because they're doing something illegal as well. And I was like, well, that priest seems pretty well connected. So I'm not going to do anything to him, but I'll report this other dick. And so I did. And they said he would be dealt with. And that was the last thing I did. So it's kind of interesting. Like, well, I guess I went into the forest as well. But it's kind of interesting in that way where you can kind of manipulate conversations and like learn things. And so like the web of some of this stuff is good. Like the game misses the mark occasionally. Like sometimes I'm like, you should know who I am. Like he's like, I haven't heard of you. But it's like, this is a tiny village and I've been running around this village a bunch. Like, it'll miss the mark here and there for a game that feels like it's supposed to be so connected, but it connects enough of the dots that I think it's pretty interesting. The one thing that I find kind of weird is I don't know when a POI finishes. I went into this area, I thought it was going to be some big thing, and I find this lady who's like living kind of like pre-disaster. She's kind of lost her mind, and you find out like her sister, used to live with her and she doesn't know where she is and things like that. And you can kind of like solve that small mystery, but I thought there was like much more to this house for like another reason, which I won't like give out because it was like a big spoiler. But I thought there was like more to this house. And I was like, man, like I swear there's more to this house, but I've been everywhere. And I Googled it and it's like, nah, like that's it. It's just like a little tiny mystery about this person's sister. It's like, what? And as a final note, there's something interesting in this game where nobody wants to fight, but they will. So you get kind of close to people and they're like, oi, like play it smart, back up, back the hell up. Or this one faction I've never seen before. They're like, I'm sorry, but I don't know your intentions. I don't know your intentions. And it's a warning, like, you keep coming up, I'm going to friggin' shoot you.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting like that. So I'm kind of stuck at a part. I mean, I died once. I haven't tried again, but I'm kind of stuck at a part where I'm supposed to sneak into this facility and I got spotted once. And there was like 15 people and they kicked my ass. They beat my ass into the ground. So I don't really know. I only have like 5 bullets, so I don't really want to use them all. But pretty funny though. there was like 4 or 5 of them. The one guy's like, "You don't even know what you're doing with that, do you?" And I pulled a gun out and I just shot him in the head. And his buddy's like, and then I shot him in the head, and they had another buddy, and he's like, what do we do?
Jeez.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous, but I'm having fun with it. Like, it's a short game. Everyone keeps saying, it's a pretty short game. Like, realistically, depending on the path you took, you could even beat it like 3 hours. So I'm having fun with it. I'm going to try to get through it. And that's been it. That's been my week. How about you, Ryan?
I put in a ton of Oblivion.
Oh, yeah.
I basically finished the whole arena stuff. That was a very easy way to make a lot of money, Matt. You're correct. And from what I can tell is you can now just battle infinitely every week for money. And the battles weren't even that hard. I maybe died like once, and it was like there was like a 2-on-1 or something situation,
You didn't know about, I mean, this is spoilers for the arena. You didn't know about the quest line you could do for the Grand Champion either.
This game hides everything from you. It doesn't let you know about nothing. I don't know how I would have figured out to talk to that guy. It's like in most RPGs, you talk to someone, you're done. You don't ever talk to him again. I also never thought to talk to him because he was just some guy fighting in the training room. Why would I talk to that guy? You know what I mean?
You playing this game kind of opened my eyes to that, because you were like, how do you know to find all these quests? And as a kid, I don't have an answer for you. I don't know how I found all these quests. Maybe I was just talking to everybody.
And talked to everyone, yeah.
Or I was looking stuff up. It was kind of the infancy of like, YouTube videos being made and guides and things.
One thing you can do is like, there's always a rumors option when you're talking to someone.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And I think that unlocks a lot of missions or quests. If you just say, hey, what's going on? They'll be like, someone went disappearing near that well outside of town, and then it'll be like, plink, it'll like a quest will unlock.
Yeah. New topic.
But if I normally do go through all the dialogue options when talking to people in RPGs, but it's like the rumors one is such a I don't care kind of button. You know what I mean? Unless you know it's how to get some quests.
It's certainly not your like primary objective. As you seem to be more of an objective based gamer, I guess is what I'd call it.
Well, I'm a follower, right? I need to tell me who to talk to, and I'll go talk to them. But I'm not going to go out of my way and talk to the barkeep to get some deets on some new quest that I have I wouldn't do that in the real life.
Right.
I wouldn't walk into the bar and just start having conversations with people. So why would I do that in this game? But that's what you kind of have to do in this one.
And I would never have affiliated that with Oblivion until you started talking about it, because I just know where to go now, right? It's like, it's so weird. Like I just don't know what I did as a kid. Like I certainly know some stuff. I went to the arena. Like people were like, "There's an arena." I'm like, "That sounds like it's gonna make me money." And like I knew about the factions. Like that's a mainstay, right? Where it's like, "Oh, hey, like I'll do the factions, sure." Interesting. I don't know. Like it's so interesting to me.
You know what I think I'm gonna do before I actually finish the main quest line is I'm actually gonna look up a list of like the must play quests in Oblivion to make sure I haven't missed them, because I'm not going back. Once I finish the game, it's getting deleted from my Xbox. It's done, right? So I think I might have to do that just to make sure I got it, because otherwise I'm gonna miss it. So
well, I'm looking at your profile actually, Ryan, on Xbox. You're a little over 30 hours in now, or you're 34 hours in approximately. So your achievements, like obviously you haven't beat the main story, but you haven't done Dark Brotherhood.
No.
You haven't done Thieves Guild.
I don't normally do like evil stuff in RPGs.
You haven't done the Mages Guild.
I'm not a mage.
You haven't done the Fighters Guild fully.
I'm working. I did a bunch of it. I can't remember my rank, but I've advanced like a couple times already.
Oh, you know what you really should actually do though? And like you like really shouldn't miss it. You really shouldn't miss Shivering Isles.
That's the DLC, right?
That's the DLC. That is
I'll play that, yeah.
Like Knights of the Nine, I could take it or leave it. I could really give a crap about Knights of the Nine. I know some people love it, but But Shivering Isles is like a quintessential, like I would call it an essential Bethesda DLC to play. I would also call Far Harbor that as well, which I know is controversial, but I would call Far Harbor that, as I fucking loved the environment. And that's the same thing here is like, yeah, the story of Shivering Isles is super cool, but the environment is just so damn awesome. Like, it's just so different. I'm not going to ruin it. It's just so fucking weird, and I love it.
So this is interesting. If you go to the how long to beat here, 16 hours for the main story. That's an insanely short story.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's not, and
And then
honestly, you could run through it.
47 hours for main and extras. So I might actually be almost done this game, right?
Uh
Look, I'm not going to do the Mages Guild. I'm just not.
you're not gonna do mages, okay? Are you gonna do? God, that Dark Brotherhood, Ryan, is so fucking good.
I'll do it. Yeah, I'm
It's
planning on doing that.
it's I would say it's the best guild quest line, full stop, of
Okay,
all the Elder Scrolls
yeah,
and like Fallout.
it'll happen at some point.
And you're gonna do Shivering Isles.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm trying to get the Overwatch season completed. It's going to be right down to the wire here.
God.
There's like 3 days left, and I need like a few extra levels. So
Oh my god.
I don't know if it's going to be the last battle pass I buy or not, because it's getting harder and harder to play it alongside everything else. Especially when like Aaron doesn't have it installed anymore, so it's like I have very few people to actually play it regularly with, and it's hard to play on my own.
Weirdly, like I'll play it like
Yeah, I know.
because the thing is with those games, I mean, short of Fortnite, I just don't care about the thing. So like if someone wants to play it, it's just a fun game to play. I'll play it.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna do any quests, which doesn't affect anyone else but me. I'm not gonna do any quests. You know, if you need to play certain game modes, I don't care what game mode. I'm there to play Overwatch, and then I leave, and that's
right.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Did a lot of Night Rain as well. Elden Ring Night Rain. Beat another boss, main boss in that one, that was pretty easy. This freaking moth and this crab thing have been kicking my ass. I cannot beat it. And Goat Man sucks. Hate Goat Man. What's interesting about Goat Man, now this might be mild spoilers for anyone who actually cares. I'd imagine you don't care about mild spoilers.
For Night Rain?
Yeah.
If I play Night Rain, I'm just going to be playing with you guys. Like, I'm not going to care about the story.
Just jump ahead, like, I don't know, a couple minutes. But when you go into his boss level, he's just standing there, and you walk up to him, and he's like unassuming. He's like this cloaked figure, and you talk to him, and he will grant you something. You can take take a bunch of extra levels. He can give you like a weapon or a sorcery or something like that, and it usually costs you something. If I choose a weapon, it might cost me a level, right? But he gives me a really good weapon. So you can choose to do these trade-offs or whatnot. You can choose not to do anything at all either. And then he transforms into the Goat Man and starts kicking your ass no matter what you chose. You know what I mean? So
that's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah. So that was a funny boss. I'm liking the game though. Having a lot of fun with it.
That's good.
There's a lot of like extra things to do rather than just do runs. There's like memories or something like that, and there's like this ghost girl you can talk to, and she takes you into this level, and got my ass kicked there and stuff.
Is this something that like I should dabble in? Like, are you guys almost done it? And it's like I'm gonna join, and you guys are gonna be like, eh.
I'm not almost done it, so if you want to join in now would be the time. It would be nicer to have 3 people, because right now we're playing with randoms, and sometimes they run off and do their own thing. Or if me and Aaron are prioritizing something else and they don't like that, they've left our game.
Oh yeah,
which you're screwed after that point. You might as well. One time, me and Aaron just let ourselves die, because you're not going to beat the final boss by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You need 3 people. It's balanced for 3 people, and this is one of the problems. Like, there is no 2-player option yet. They said they're looking into it, but they got to rebalance everything for 2 players.
Right.
So yeah, it would be nice to find a third. But yeah, it's fun. It's enjoyable. Having a good time.
Because I've been considering picking it up. You will have to be patient with me. Like, I'm not going to run off on you, but I'm also not going to be good. So
I'm not good either. So don't worry. It's like, you know, Aaron's helping me kind of figure out what to do. Like every boss has a weakness, and then there's like, let's say it's like Mothman's weak to fire. There'll be like a fire encampment located on your map. You'll have the little fire icon on it, and you can go there, and you're likely to find a fire weapon, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
So you can kind of do stuff like that, you know, to figure it out.
How do you know the moth? I mean, a moth in particular, I guess, would be weak to fire, but like in a boss that's more ambiguous. It tells you the weaknesses. Oh, yeah. Okay, I like that. Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah. And then you can choose different characters depending on your playstyle. If you want a tanky guy, if you want a more sword fighty guy, if you want a wizard, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. And that's about it. We did Halo Wars on stream, which is awesome. Halo Wars is freaking awesome. I'm really enjoying it. I don't know about you, but
I fucking love Halo Wars. I've always loved Halo Wars. Yeah,
yeah.
it's really good. I've always wanted someone like I used to play with a bunch of people, thankfully, like back in the day kind of thing. But I've always wanted to like revisit it. And I mean, I'm down to play Halo Wars too because I played very
100%,
little of it.
100%. Yeah.
And it's a creative assembly, and I love the creative assembly as well. So
I'm kind of hoping they do another Halo Wars. My one criticism, and it's probably not actually a criticism. I probably don't actually want this, but it's like I wish the battles, like I wish I could make bigger armies. Right now, you're capped at like 30 units, and then you can unlock an upgrade for 40 units. But it's like I want
skirmish, you will be able to.
I don't know how you played RTSs, but like I would always just amass the biggest army I possibly could, and then take that out and then have some fun. Here, it just feels like you're just skirting by. You have the most bare minimum resources. You know what I mean?
We are also the reason why I say it's going to be bigger is I don't know if it's going to be bigger than 40, but we're playing co-op, so we're sharing the 40. So
right.
like if split evenly, which we've never really had a trouble with because we've never like I don't care if it's split evenly kind of thing. But it's like at most we're going to have 20 each, and then we're also sharing the supply. When we're playing skirmish, that won't be the case. Yeah, and you'll be able to select a commander. The commander will have certain abilities, things like that. So I think you'll enjoy skirmish more. Like you said, you want to do a couple skirmish. Like I'm totally down for that.
Yeah.
There's a deck building mechanic in Halo Wars 2, though. I just remembered.
Oh, what the heck?
It's a certain mode though, so you just don't have to do. It's called like Blitz or something.
Yeah. All right. That's it for this week. We could be streaming Halo Wars this Wednesday on twitch.tv/DamonPatchMedia, Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. However, we might be doing something else. I'm not sure what are we doing.
We have something in progress with Tim, right?
I don't know, but I've deleted Raquet, so
I don't think that's what it was in progress.
It's not an option. I mean, I can re-download it, but
that was what we were doing. I can't remember anything.
Grounded. We're playing Grounded again, boys.
There's only one mission left.
But anyway, yeah, you'll find out, I guess. And we'll see you guys next time.
Hey, yo. Peace.